Well, good morning. Welcome to the Electric Bison and another fine Montana day. We're here in front of the Federal Reserve offices in Helena, and I'm just delighted to be able to talk about the performance of the Federal Reserve Chairman, Jerome Powell, when he was put upon by President Trump, who clearly is hoping to have his power, happen to have Powell's power to change interest rates at his own disposal. And he says when the time comes for him to appoint a new chairman, he's certainly going to fire Powell and get a different one. The irony of the whole thing is that Powell was initially appointed by President Trump. It's just that Powell's doing his job. He's watching interest rates. The one important thing the Federal Reserve can do for all of us is to make sure the interest rates don't get too high or too low. And of course, President Trump wants them to lower the rates so they can start taking credit for a hot economy. But a hot economy translates into inflation. And inflation robs the poor, and it robs senior citizens, and it basically robs the economy eventually. It's very difficult to get rid of. So 3 cheers for Jerome Powell. I thought it was a wonderful opportunity for people to see how one kind of person with a lot of power will do every way possible to undermine the authority of someone else who's trying to do their job. Now, that all ended with President Trump saying, well, he'll do the right thing. Well, certainly he'll do the right thing. He just may not do what President Trump wants. And that's fine. If he ends up lowering rates, and that's his decision, that's great. However, it has to be for reasons that the Federal Reserve thinks are important. And we have to have people like that. We have to have honest cops like Jerome Powell. I've talked about honest cops before, but they're everywhere in our system. We have way more than we have dishonest cops. And they're what make our system work. They're the ones that keep people from having a favorite status or favoritism status, have the inside track, be able to fix parking tickets, be able to fix tickets out on highway with a $100 bill in the middle of the night on their way to Canada. Those are really essential to the way our system works so that we all have faith in it. So again, 3 cheers for Jerome Powell. And honest cops, of course, are the opposite of road agents. The road agents that I've talked to you about, that I think Senator Steve Daines has become, is not an honest cop. He's not doing his job. He's for whatever reason has opted to favor interests that will give him a lot of money for his campaign. In the last campaign 6 years ago, he had $33 million. He had a huge amount of money from special interests. And this campaign for this 6-year stint already has $39 million, more than he did the last time. And I'm sure by the time 2026 is over with, he'll have a huge amount of money in his campaign war chest. Well, what's that all about? What is that causes people to want to get money to protect their status rather than just do the job and then people vote for them out of a sense of appreciation? You know, what is that? Is that fear? Is that an uncertainty about themselves? Is that a desire to be liked? My personal feeling is that it's a form of greed, that the greed for power is actually more pressing than the greed for money. And I think that's what we're dealing with. And when people like Senator Daines, people like Senator Sheehy start falling in line because they want to be sure to be reelected out of greed for the office, that's no good for all of us. And so I'm hoping that sometime we'll see 1 or 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 of our congressional delegation, step up and do the job. Now, next week I'm going to be over in the Bitterroot Valley, and I want to show you some of the details of what happened with the road agents down at Virginia City that I've talked about, how how they turn their status, their inside status as someone expected to enforce the law, somebody expected to be reliable, turned it into an inside track to allow themselves to make a lot of money. Another word for that is cutthroat. Cutthroat, yeah. Road agents are cutthroats. Road agents are not honest cops. Jerome Powell is an honest cop. And our congressional delegation right now is filled with road agents. I'll talk to you next week. Thanks.